Hey everyone, this is an incredibly boring video about my trip to Germany. Apologies in advance for my bad German pronunciation. I'm good at English, fair in Spanish, pretty bad at French and Portuguese. My German is garbage. Probably only know 100 words in German. Ich spreche kein Deutsch. So I'll do my best on the pronunciation, but I won't ever say anything really right. We are near a semi-touristy city named Freiburg im Breisgau. Freiburg im Breisgau is not to be confused with Freiburg an der Elbe, between Hamburg and the Denmark border, or Freiburg am Neckar near Stuttgart, or Freiburg im Uchtland in Switzerland, or the French province of Freiburg, or the German district of Freiburg, or the old song Free Bird. Again, we decided not to go to the touristy areas of the country, and for that I am grateful to my phenomenally gorgeous wife who planned this trip. We are in this odd little apartment in the town of Suhlden near Freiburg im Breisgau, and I'm pretty sure it gets rented out as a ski lodge. The owners are very kind and have stocked this place with everything that they thought we might need. There's plenty of beer and wine and other wine and more wine and everything you might need to enjoy beer and wine. It's actually a really nice gesture. We just won't be using any of it. My daughter is feeling much better, so on our first day we went into Freiburg im Breisgau to see their Münster Cathedral. As far as I can tell, Münster means cathedral, so me calling it the Münster Cathedral is kind of like...
Why do people say ATM machine? The M stands for machine.
I love chai tea.
Chai means tea, bro. You're saying tea. Would I ask you for a coffee
Yeah.
with room for cream?
Oh.
Very beautiful, amazing architecture, and we loved all the statues and gargoyles. We noticed right away that the other buildings in town are not as charming and historic as the church, as though all the other houses and buildings were built in the 50s or later. My mother-in-law used to live in Germany, and she reminded us that the Allies had bombed the heck out of Germany during the World War. So of course everything was rebuilt after that. And after reading through some of the signs that I photographed here, one of the signs said that it was considered a miracle that the Münster Cathedral was not damaged by the bombs. So a little confirmation on that. But German people are really cool. Like people in Belgium, they keep to themselves, but they're very helpful. And lucky for me, they all seem to speak English very well, making tourism here a lot easier than I was expecting. The next day we took a rest day and I experimented with the sauna at our place in Suhlden. I liked it so much I decided to use it as often as possible. And if I ever figure out the infinite money glitch in real life, I'll have a very nice sauna in my dream house. We took a couple of days and did something we knew our kids would like. We went to Europa Park in Rust. I think that's how you say it. Spelled like rust, but with the umlaut, the 2 dots over the U. So, fun amusement park, but it was painfully obvious that they had stolen a few themes from other theme parks around the world, like a monorail and a giant golf ball looking thing in the middle of the park, and a version of the Omni-Mover shooter like Buzz Lightyear's Astro Blasters. They have a pirate-themed boat ride with a drop, a city scene, a battle scene between a boat and a walled city. Their flight ride is called Voltarium, but it is the exact same mechanic as Soarin' in Walt Disney World and Disneyland. And there are similarities there too. My wife and I just had to laugh as a golf ball whizzed by us, just like in the old Soarin' over California. And it ended with fireworks over their giant ball, just like Soarin' in Epcot. Inside their giant ball in the middle of the park is a Space Mountain-like ride themed for the Can-Can dance. It was really fun. We rode it twice. And they do have some amazing roller coasters. There were definitely some stressful moments, like when we tried to get lunch in a place with a totally different culture than we're used to. The outside menus are in English, and the inside menus are all in French and German, so I had to be present for every order. My French is comme ci comme ça, but my German is kakapupu. Somehow we made it through. The biggest thing we learned is you don't make substitutions or additions or subtractions to your meal like you do in the United States. None of this, can I get it without the egg on top? Can I change that sauce? Can I sub in chicken for the veal? No, that's not the way you do things here or anywhere in Europe so far. The response to any of those is, if you don't like the food, then why did you order it? Europa Park is laid out in zones that represent different countries in Europe. We thought that would remind us of Epcot in Florida again, but it doesn't. It works very well for them. The lands and rides and restaurants in each land are themed after countries, but they're a much bigger experience than what Epcot would offer. And it's not a round circle with each country branching off like a spoke. It's a squampus rectangle, and each country takes up basically a section or a square. We rode the little train and the Silver Star and the Blue Fire and Poseidon. All of their coasters are wicked fast and had me screaming. Their little rides were fun too, though I was told on the tiniest ride that I was not allowed to film unless I had a GoPro that was attached to a chest band, but not with my phone even though it was strapped to my wrist the whole time. Okay, but this is the coaster that defeated me, Voltron. Voltron is not named for the anime robot made of giant robot lions. It's named for volts, like electricity, and the lobby is kind of themed after Nikola Tesla, the famed inventor. I thought that the craziest coasters I would ever see would be the Velocicoaster and the Hulk in Universal Studios in Florida and Cannibal in Lagoon in Utah. I almost blacked out when I went on the Hulk. Velocicoaster was so fast it had me feeling incredible G-forces, and Cannibal made my life flash before my eyes. But those don't hold a candle to Voltron. Voltron had me upside down and spinning and corkscrewing and moving so quickly that I lost all sense of direction and time. We finally slowed down, and I admit that I said to myself, "Oh, thank goodness that's over." Wrong. We slowed down to load onto a turntable, and then it launched us off for round 2. Out-of-body experience. Amazing roller coaster. Perfect, no notes. I saw more parallels with Disney. These 3 creepy characters looked to me like their answer to the hitchhiking ghosts of the Haunted Mansion. And Ed and Edda Euromouse look like Chuck E. Cheese's little cousins. But it begs the question, why did Europa Park choose a mouse as its mascot? There were a lot of differences too. I don't want to say the whole thing was an exact replica. Europa Park has way more big coasters than any Disney park. The train passes right through the streets and pedestrians have to stop on both sides and let it pass. There is a toboggan run coaster, which made me think of the Matterhorn first, but it doesn't have a track. It has a concave path, and the coaster has wheels on the bottom and then some bumpers on the side so it can just follow the path wherever the weight takes it. They have a main street that really does look like Main Street USA in Disneyland and Disney World. There was a live juggler who was entertaining the passerbys by throwing his pins up. He was very good. And right next to him there's a person with very large throwing knives, and she was inviting kids to come up and take the throwing knives and try to chuck them into the pumpkins that lined Main Street. You would never see a guest with throwing knives in Disneyland or Disney World. There were a lot of unique experiences there too, like this attraction meant to disorient you. I purposely fought the effect by allowing my phone to hang off my wrist like this so I knew which way was down. Otherwise I would have gotten motion sick. They have a couple of water coasters. Is it a boat ride? Is it a roller coaster? Yes, it is. They will sell merchandise from any franchise, like these Jurassic Park t-shirts that they sell in the gift shop outside of the ride where the little grandma takes care of her dinosaur friend. One nice difference is that their snacks are cheaper than they are at Disney properties. I bought a serving of mini pancakes with chocolate and caramel syrup for $4.50. My kid got a big candy cane thing for $2.50. You can buy a single scoop ice cream cone for $2.50, a double scoop for $4.40, and a triple for just a little over $6. You'll have a hard time finding anything for less than €6 at a Disney park. The next day it was raining hard, but the forecast was better in the afternoon, so we went to see the Rodelbahn Alpine roller coaster in Todtnau. It was a wild ride. My daughter went ahead of me. She was pretty anxious about it, so she rode the brake very hard until she got to about the halfway point. She got comfortable with it, and I didn't see her again until the end of the ride. I am a bit heavier than her, and so I rode the brake pretty hard every time I came near a curve. It was a cool ride though. We drove up the mountain a little ways to Black Forest Line, a suspension bridge over a gorge with a beautiful waterfall below. I've always been afraid of heights, and when I was a kid, you could not have got me to walk out on this bridge for $1 billion, $1 trillion. But now it wasn't too bad. A little sway and rock, especially if you stopped. You didn't seem to feel it as much if you were walking. 2 of my kids decided to stay in the car rather than risk a walk out on this bridge. But 3/5 of our family had a lot of fun walking it. I could see straight down below my feet, which made me anxious at first, but after crossing and coming back, I was used to it. Everything was so green and lush, and I could have lived right there in one of those houses. My wife says she prefers the beach to the mountains, so now we're fighting. Just kidding. We let the kids sleep in the next morning before we drove up to Triberg. We had heard about a couple of tourist traps in Triberg that we wanted to explore. The first was the House of 1,000 Clocks, a gift shop that sells all of your normal touristy trinkets, but also specializes in cuckoo clocks. Based on the size of the building and the size of the clocks, I truly doubt that there are 1,000 clocks in that shop. But they do have several locations, so possibly between them all they have 1,000 clocks. Next, we drove up the road to see the world's largest cuckoo clock. It's in the Guinness Book of World Records if you want to look it up. It's built into the outside of a shop that, surprise, sells cuckoo clocks. We waited until 1 o'clock so we could see the show, and here it is. You ready?
Yay!
We get one, so it's 1 o'clock.
Yay!
That was amazing. We should have tried to get there by about noon instead of happening upon it at 1 o'clock. Only one cuckoo, see? Womp womp. Then we parked and hiked to the Triberg Wasserfalle, the tallest waterfall in Germany. Beautiful waterfall, nice hike, and the weather was pleasantly chilly. But our favorite part was feeding birds and squirrels on the way up. You can buy these tiny bags of peanuts, about 20 peanuts for €1 from the ticket office on your way up. We couldn't tempt the birds to come closer to us than about 5 or 6 feet, but the squirrels would run right up to you and take the nut gingerly from your fingers. So polite! On our last day, we took a road trip to the city of Basel, Switzerland, right near the closest German border. I had the idea to go to the farmer's market near the old town hall in the city of Basel, and so we came hungry, little after lunchtime. That was our downfall. Little did we know that the farmer's market packs up and closes about 2 p.m. So a little after lunchtime when we arrived, everybody had sold out of the favorites. I saw plenty of food still there, but my picky family couldn't see anything that they wanted to eat. So we walked around that part of Basel looking for a restaurant. Did you know that a lot of restaurants in Basel, Switzerland close up right after their lunch rush and don't reopen until dinner? Neither did we, but now we do, and so do you. We frantically Google mapped every restaurant we could and finally found a takeout Chinese window and sat in a square and ate. It wasn't great, but it was filling and nourishing. We walked around that area and then across the river to take pictures across the river of Old Town. One thing we like to do here in Europe is what we call spire spotting. We'll look out at the skyline and say, there's a cool spire. Do you want to walk to it? Sure, let's go. This first one was a little boring. It was crammed against a construction zone, but the next one was amazing. I know that a lot of people don't like organized religion, but you have to admit that the Catholic Church built a lot of impressive buildings all across Europe. I always like to see what the builders included as gargoyles. In the plaza in front of this church, there was this unique gentleman who was doing about everything he could to get you to throw money into his hat. The bubbles were what finally caught my daughter's attention, so I threw a couple of euros into his hat. I hope he can spend them. Switzerland is not on the euro yet, they're still on the Swiss franc. And we all like his cute little dogs. They look like mop heads. On the way back to the parking lot in Basel, we veered a little bit to buy a souvenir and to take pictures of this old city gate. It's called the Spallentor. This gate was the city's old border back in the 1400s. With nothing around it, it's just an oddity, but I'm sure it was pretty intimidating back when the walls were still up. That's everything we did in Germany and Switzerland. If you're new to my channel, this is about step 6 of our giant YOLO trip. So be sure to check out my other videos on my trip to Japan, our trip to Hawaii, our stay in England, and our visit to Belgium. Next up is France. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.